Welcome back, SethBling here. This is my 1000th video on YouTube, and for it I've got something really special. I do want to talk about having 1000 videos and what that means to me, and I'm going to talk about a bunch of personal stuff at the end of the video, but in the meantime, I want to show you genetic evolution in Minecraft. Let me click this populate 40 button, and this will summon 40 random baby zombies. That one is doing some interesting stuff. Now these zombies summon TNT, and that is their only way of moving around. They have slowness a billion or something, I don't know. It's a really high slowness effect. And basically they want these melons. And so they use the TNT to blast themselves around to be able to get the melons. When they eat a melon, they gain 20 energy. And each TNT they sort of poop out, it costs them 1 energy. And so if they get enough energy, whoa, what? If they get enough energy, then they will breed with other zombies, and they'll have zombie babies. And there we go. This guy has enough energy that he's willing to breed. So if he finds another zombie that is also willing to breed, and they get close enough to each other, they will breed and have a zombie baby. And the zombie baby will inherit the genetic traits of the parent zombie. That guy has some zombie diarrhea. And once he ran out of energy, used up all of his energy with a billion TNT all at once, and so he died. Because once you run out of energy, you die, and that's the only way for the zombies to die. So, what are these genes? Well, the genes control a bunch of stuff about these zombies. For instance, they control the color of the armor, so you can tell. These all have different genes because they have, different. Each piece of armor has a different color. So that's something more like superficial. But they also control the AI of the zombies. They control the gravity level of the zombies. Like this guy, this guy is just floating away. Look at that one. There was one way up there. I don't even know. Anyway, this guy has basically 0 gravity. It looks like. I don't know. He might be falling very slowly, but. So zombies can have low gravity, they can have high gravity, and that's just one of the genes of the zombie. If I hover over a zombie for a couple seconds, there's a list of I think it's 19 genes. So each gene, you can see them all here, has a value between 0 and 1,000. And those values mean different things depending on what the gene is. You can also see at the bottom, it says age 2 minutes, so that's the age of the zombies. Generation 0 means it was one of the zombies that I spawned in randomly at the beginning. But if they have babies, then the babies will increment the generation. And then children is the number of children that zombie has had. And so let's look at this one. If I can hover over it for a sec. So this guy is, maybe that's the same one, I don't know. Let's see if we can find, this one has had a baby. He's not being very successful right now, though. but he was successful enough to get enough energy and find another mate to have a baby with, so that's good for him. Now, so the genes, so let's see, there's anti-gravity here, so that in this case, that zombie had 661. If the value is really high, then it'll have a very low gravity level. If the value is very low, then it'll have extra gravity beyond normal. This guy has, let's see, he has a low gravity. If we look at him, his anti-gravity is 818, so that's pretty high. But not so high that he's just up and floating away. Let's see. So there's basically 3 types of AIs. This zombie is targeting something. You can see he's facing a melon, and that means he's targeting it. That's one of the types of AI. It's called the targeting AI. Let's see if we can find. This zombie over here is wandering, and you can tell that because he's sort of like turning left and right at random. Let's see, this one's targeting. The third type of AI is the blocked AI, and it means basically it's what happens when your feet are facing a wall and you can't walk forward. Not that they can walk, but basically they have a different type of AI for if there's something blocking the path in front of them, so that they can try and sort of aim upwards and clear over the top of that obstacle. And so, so the 3 types of AI. So it was blocked if there's something in front of your feet, targeting if there's something you can see, and then wandering if you don't have anything you can see and that you want. And so these guys are targeting each other. We're having a little Romeo and Juliet moment where they just can't seem to make it with each other. So the three types of AIs each have 4 numbers associated with them. So if we look in the genes here, we can see the targeting AI, for example, has horizontal TNT velocity, vertical TNT velocity, TNT cooldown, and TNT fuse. So those first two, horizontal and vertical TNT velocity, controls the trajectory that the TNT gets ejected out the back of the zombie. Let's see if we can find a good example. So here he's putting it kind of back and up a little bit maybe. Let's see if we can find a zombie with a different trajectory. That one's hard to see. That one is just kind of going straight up, right? So not a lot of horizontal velocity, but a lot of vertical velocity upwards. They can also have vertical velocity downwards. And so the trajectory of the TNT out the back of the zombie is controlled by the AI. Then the TNT cooldown is the frequency or the period of spitting out those TNTs. And then the last one, TNT fuse, is the duration that the TNT, basically from the time the TNT spawns, how long before it explodes. So normal TNT in a normal Minecraft world has a fuse of 4 seconds. In this case, they have a fuse of, well, this one has a really short fuse. This one has a much longer fuse. You can see that TNT is lasting quite a while. This guy is about to die. He is out of energy. No food to be eaten. Dead. So each of the 3 types of AI have those 4 properties: the trajectory, the cooldown, and the fuse. And then there's some other genes, like for instance, you can see, let's see, this zombie is wandering. These 2 zombies are wandering. The kind of magnitude with which they do these random variations in their rotation. Whoa, that was weird. I think his blocked AI said to spit out a lot of TNT very quickly, and that was interesting. But yeah, the like wandering rotation amount can increase. These blue particles, this is a mechanic called boredom. So each zombie can get bored if they try and find. If they're targeting the same thing for too long. Like this guy is targeting this melon, but he's not having a lot of luck getting to it. And so if he targets the melon for too long without actually getting it, he will eventually become bored. And each zombie has an amount of time before they get bored. Once they do get bored, they'll have these blue particles and they'll start wandering around. And the amount of time that they wander around for is also controlled by a gene. And so it's basically a mechanism that's supposed to help them prevent from getting stuck trying to do one thing for too long without actually being able to accomplish it. So they can wander around and move on to the next objective. So here you can see he's no longer wandering because he no longer has those blue particles. He's trying to get to this melon here. I think he's not going to be able to get up this hill still because his blocked AI does not allow him to do that. But okay, so here we have 2 zombies that they're breeding. Now the amount of energy that you need before you're willing to breed, that's another gene. And then also the amount of energy that you pass on to your baby is a gene. So when these 2 guys do eventually breed, or maybe these 2, they'll have a baby. Now this baby has 135 energy. All of that energy came from the 2 parents. So they lost energy to give energy to their baby. And so how much energy they give to the baby is a gene. And there's arguments for wanting a lot of energy for your baby so that it has a good chance of surviving to make it to find food. Or you might want a small amount of energy so that you can have more babies and hopefully just a larger variation in the genes that you pass on so that hopefully one or more of them will be even better at surviving and breeding and everything than you were. So there's I don't know exactly what the best value is for passing on energy to your baby, but that's one of the things that evolution will determine over time. Of course, it'll also help select for zombies that are better at getting to food, that can beat out their competition to getting to food, that can wander efficiently without using up too much energy. Here, currently, there's not a lot of food left. The zombies have, even in just this short amount of time since I started the video, we're on generation. That's still actually this zombie has been around since the very beginning. He was one of the initial 40 zombies that we populated the world with. What about this guy? This guy is generation 2, so he's like the grandchildren of a few zombies that were initial. But even just through a couple generations, we've ended up with some zombies that are relatively efficient at going around and getting food, though a lot of them are still pretty bad. Like we saw that guy just kind of getting stuck on the wall for a while. But yeah, so there's not a ton of food. So now the zombies are starting to compete for the food, which means the zombies that are better able to get to the food are going to be the ones that will actually make it and be able to get that food. Let's see. So there's a jitter gene. You can kind of see when zombies stand still that they're actually like wobbling around a little bit. And I'll try and keep the camera still so you can see that. And so that jitter is especially useful when trying to get onto a ledge. And so you can imagine, let's say you know there's a melon. Oh, let me actually go over here. Let's say I'm trying to get to this melon and I'm a zombie. If I drop a TNT behind me and I'm right up against this ledge, it's just going to blast me straight up. This ledge will prevent all of my forward velocity. And so that jitter basically allows it so if I get blasted up, I'll like wobble around a little bit, and hopefully by the time I actually come down and land, I'll be on this ledge and I'll be able to make it up this hill a little bit to be able to get to whatever it is I'm trying to get to. So the jitter is another property of, or another genetic property, another gene. What else have I missed? Oh, blocked AI. So for the blocked AI, when they have their feet up against the wall, there's a rotation bias. So normally if they're just wandering, they're gonna, you know, it's going to be random. But if they're up against the wall, they might have a bias one direction so that they'll tend to turn around. And that's especially important when they're, like, say, up against the outer wall. If they didn't have a bias, they might do this for a long time. Whereas if they do have a bias and they're up against the wall, they'll eventually turn away from the wall, which will help because you don't really want to be facing the wall for very long. Let's see, I got boredom, there's the jitter, baby energy, mating, wander, AI. I think I covered all the genes. But so now let's just take a look at some of the behavior of these zombies, and we'll start to see some good things and some bad things. So this guy, he's spitting out TNT a good distance away from him, so he's actually able to make it pretty far with each TNT, and so he's getting pretty efficient with usage out of his TNT. This guy has a very bad blocked AI, right? He's not actually able to make it up. Oh, no, actually his blocked AI was great. He had a... Wow, this guy is actually... Sorry, I totally misjudged, and I apologize to this zombie. This zombie is great. He basically has a really fast self-propulsion forward, and when he was blocked up against the wall, he was able to make it pretty well. Let's see if we can find some zombies that have some not so great strategies. So this guy is blasting himself up in the air, and then when he's up in the air, he's spitting out another TNT, and it's not pushing him very far. So he's not very energy efficient. We can see he's a little bit low on energy, and if he's not able to get one of these melons, he's probably going to die just from having used up all of his energy just wandering around. There's a lot of competition, and these zombies are kind of blasting each other all over the place. Nobody's been able to get these 2 melons for a long time. All right, well, they finally got those 2 melons, but yeah, and then we saw a couple zombies just die here. What else do we have? I'm actually gonna go ahead and start over just so we can see what some of those initial zombies are like, and so I can show you now that you know what all the genes are. So I reloaded the Datapack, and that'll bring up this menu. So if you want to download this for yourself, this is how you do it. /reload, you click kill bodies, and it'll clear out everything. So no zombies, no food, no nothing. Now food will slowly spawn over time. It spawns like once every second or so. I think it's actually a little bit faster than that, but food spawns over time. And when you want to summon zombies, you can either click create body, that'll create 1 zombie, and we can watch him go. Or you can click populate 40. That'll create 40 random zombies. And that's a good way to go. We have, oh man. Well, there's a zombie up there. It's invisible because the render distance is only so far. But, so you can see some like bad behavior here. So this guy is spitting out his next TNT before he's actually like done moving. And so he's just can't reliably go anywhere. He's sort of like drifting around the side of this thing. He gets blasted sideways in between each like TNT that he drops, and so he's just like not able to make it anywhere. And that's something you see pretty commonly, especially at the beginning. That guy was... This guy is like, I don't even know what's going on with him. He's summoning the TNT so close to him that he's just blasting himself around, not very effectively getting to where he wants to go. This guy has really low gravity, and he summons the TNT really close to him. And that's his targeting AI. So he's not ever going to be able to get food. So he's going to die off. There's a lot of these zombies that are just not very good. This guy, I think, got frustrated and bored really fast, and now he's wandering around a bunch. Yeah, here we go. So let's see what he's able to do. It looks like, oh, he got bored already. He's just, this guy is an ADD zombie, and he just has no time for anything. Okay, there's a zombie way up in the air, very low gravity. Looks like he is coming back down. This guy, another zombie that got bored really fast and is just right next to food but not doing anything. Some more, oh, this guy looks like he's going to get on the ledge eventually. What else do we got? There's just always zombies doing funny, stupid things. So this guy is dropping TNT again before he's landed or before the last TNT has even exploded. So he wants to get to this melon and he's just never going to do it. And basically you need, it's really important for zombies that their fuse on their TNT is shorter than the amount of time between spawning TNT. Otherwise you spawn the next TNT before the previous TNT has exploded. You get something like this where it's exploding and pushing you off course before the next TNT can actually have a chance of pushing you in the direction that you wanted to go. So that's pretty bad for that zombie. This zombie is spitting out way too much TNT. Again, he's just gonna die really fast, and he's dead. Okay. So this is what it looks like at the beginning, and they're pretty bad. Now we saw just a moment ago that, you know, after a couple generations, things do get better. And so what I want to do now is just kind of like fast forward a little bit. I'm going to keep watching, but I'm going to cut up the video a bit so that you have a chance to see some of the interesting behavior and what makes this evolution tick. I do want to mention real quick, this was at least partially inspired by an old game / program called Gene Pool. Some of you may have seen. So some of the features of this were definitely inspired by that. Gene Pool is definitely worth checking out if you can find it. I've always had a hard time finding it. I last played it like 10 years ago, but it's more of a simulator than a game, but it's a lot like this. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm gonna just kind of fast forward and show you some cool stuff. Before I go too far, I do want to talk a little bit about how breeding works. So these two zombies, they're about to have a baby. Okay, so they had a baby. They're still above the threshold to have babies. So there they had 2 babies, and so that's one of the benefits of passing on a small amount of energy to your babies, is that you can have more of them. And so these guys had twins, sort of, almost. They're a little bit, weren't born quite at the same time, but so if we look at the colors of the armor, we'll see that they're kind of similar to their parents. These are the 2 parents. This was one of the babies. I think this was the other baby. So they have like there was a greenish and a yellowish helmet. So they both have green yellow helmets. The blue armor is very similar. They also, like, oh yeah, so let's look at the feet. So one had green feet, one had grayish feet. This one's a pretty different feet color. I don't know. Okay, I've lost track of which baby is which. But so the color of the armor, if we look at it, hover over a zombie and look at the genes, the color of the armor comes from the first 12 genes. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. And so there's 4 pieces of armor, each with 3 colors, the R, G, and B values. So 4 times 3 is 12. And so that's where the colors come from. So you can actually tell some things about the wander AI and the sort of mating behavior, anti-gravity, all that stuff from the color of the armor if you know what to look for. But more so, it's just helpful in determining kind of like species or who's related to who. You can tell that this guy and this guy are not really related. Like, they have very different colored armor, which means they have very different genes. So if you do see a bunch of zombies with very similar colors, it probably means they're a family or a species or whatever you want to call it. Now, how does breeding work a little bit more precisely? How do the babies inherit genes from their parents? So when the 2 zombies do breed, basically the child takes some weighted average of the 2 parents for each gene. So let's say for the jitter magnitude gene, the baby's jitter magnitude gene will be somewhere in between each of the parents' jitter magnitude gene. So you kind of, it's not necessarily, you know, the very middle between the 2, which would be an average. It could be equal to one parent or the other. There's also a little bit of randomness added after you take that weighted sum or weighted average. And so it might be actually, even if the 2 parents have the exact same jitter magnitude, let's say that both parents had a jitter magnitude of 731, the child might have 750 for their jitter magnitude. And so that little bit of variation can cause, it's basically like a mutation. And so that is one way that evolution will proceed over time. Also, the babies have each gene, when there's a new baby, each gene has a 1 in 16 chance of just being completely re-randomized for a value between 0 and 1,000. So that's like a kind of a radical mutation. You might see all of a sudden a baby, even though the parents had a really high gravity value, the baby might have a really low gravity value just because that gene got completely re-randomized. And so that's another form of mutation. And those are really the only two forms of mutation. Everything else, the genes are going to kind of come from the parents. But even then, you might get different combinations of genes from for any given pair of babies. So siblings might not be very similar to each other if one sibling takes certain genes from one parent or closer to the genes of one parent, and the other sibling takes genes closer to the genes of the other parent. And so that is sort of how breeding works and how the genes in this simulation work. And so that's what will lead to this genetic evolution over time of babies taking the good genes from their parents and the babies that take bad genes from their parents, and which ones survive and all that. It's natural selection, and it will cause, over time, it'll cause the genes to shift in a way that produces babies that are better capable of getting food and mating and creating more babies. So there is so much food now. Basically, there's kind of, up until now, the zombies have not been very good at getting food. And so there's kind of a population bottleneck here. And so the zombies that have been able to survive are the ones that are good at getting food. They're the ones that are energy efficient. And this guy has somehow been able to survive, even though he's just sort of jumping back and forth over his food. I assume he'll get to it eventually, or maybe he'll get bored. Either way, he's been able to, yeah, he got bored. He's been able to get food. So we have a population bottleneck. And so that cooled off a lot of the bad genes. There will probably still be some zombies that die, but at this point, pretty much any zombie can find some food. So as long as it's not like shooting itself in the foot with some really horrible AI, all of these zombies should have a pretty easy time surviving. Now, some of these zombies do appear to have pretty bad AI. This guy looks like he's still going to die, even though he's been given all these advantages. But the zombies that are left should have an okay time surviving, and eventually they will find each other and and be able to breathe. Man, these are really awful zombies. Just all of the zombies I've looked at so far have just been awful. What are you guys doing? There's so much food. Oh well, they'll get it eventually. And so it might take some time for them to be able to find other zombies that they can actually breed with. I think this is a zombie I just looked at before, where he's just jumping over the food back and forth. So bad. just okay. I think he didn't get food. But anyways, some of them will eventually get food. It's going to be really hard for them to starve. I don't know. Just the fact that I'm like a little bit worried that they're going to all like die off. There's going to be just a mass. Oh. just everyone's going to die. No one can get food. All it takes is for two zombies to be at least a little bit proficient. Because if you have two zombies in this whole arena that are at least a little bit proficient, then they will just keep surviving, keep getting food. There will not be any competition. And eventually they will find each other and breed and have a baby that's also at least a little bit competent. Actually, they'll probably have a bunch of babies that are at least a little bit competent. And like this guy is not very good, but at least he was able to get some food. And he was a baby, so it means that a couple of zombies did find each other. But yeah, I guess we'll see if they do all die off. But no, this guy looks plenty proficient at being able to just get some food. He shouldn't have any trouble surviving. And eventually he'll get a lot of food and he'll find another zombie and they'll breed. Now it looks like we also over here maybe have some zombies that we're able to breed. Let's see if these guys are, what generation are these guys? This guy's generation 1, so he's only 1 minute old, so he did get born recently. Another generation 1. This one's one of the parents. But yeah, they're like probably gonna get some food. Anyway, yeah, we'll see if they all die off. But I think at this point, the zombies should be able to survive and keep breeding. Oh, this guy, look, 415 energy. When he does find a mate, yeah, he should be able to have a lot of babies. So this guy's kind of drifting around his food. Look at this. He's just spitting out TNT too fast. Alright, we got Tokyo Drift Zombie. He's not really going to make it. Alright, this guy seems like he knows what's up. He's already got 502 energy. He doesn't bounce too high when he's trying to get food, so it means he's not going to go over food too... Never mind. I was wrong. Oh, okay. Well, way to prove me wrong, zombie. Let's see. I guess he jumps at least high enough that he can get over those ledges a little bit. Yep. And yeah, so he's gonna have a ton of food if he can just do a little bit more of this. Pretty good. He does spawn TNT a little bit too fast, so that when he's like up in the air like that, he's not really capable of getting food. But well, he's okay at least. Oh, I don't think I've seen a guy with this low of gravity. If he blasts himself up, he just like comes right back down. Or sorry, I meant high gravity. But he is still blasting himself up really high, and so he wants to mate, but his AI is just not very good for that. Especially because he's trying to hit a moving target. And so he might be okay at getting to food because if he goes up and comes down, he does kind of go in a straight line. But when he's trying to hit a moving target, he's just sort of blasting himself up and over it. And so this one got bored. He doesn't want to mate anymore. He's going to move on to greener pastures. Here we have slow and steady wins the race. He's very slow at getting to food, and he doesn't move that far with each TNT, but the food's still abundant enough that even with this slow strategy, he's still very reliably getting to the food, and so he's just going to very slowly make it to getting a really large energy total. And because there's just not a lot of competition, he's going to do okay for himself. Look at this one. There's so much food around here. Even though he occasionally blasts himself over food, it doesn't even matter because he's just... And there we go. Babies. Oh, there was just so many babies that they all just blast themselves away from each other. All that TNT spawning all of a sudden. But that's the reward for being able to get to food. And some of these babies will probably be pretty good. Hopefully one of those babies will even have, like, this guy has a little bit lower of a trajectory maybe? I don't know, not sure. Let's see how he does. Oh, he's still kind of blasting himself over food, but so like father, like son, or I guess like mother, like daughter. These don't really have a gender, I guess. There's not sex. There's not like sexes. It's just anyone can mate with anyone. It's a very free form sort of thing. So this is interesting. This side of the arena does not have much food now. There are a bunch of zombies that are pretty good at getting food. This side of the arena, though, very fertile, and so I suspect what we'll see now is that the zombies that are good at wandering around, moving long distances with their wandering algorithm, are the ones that are going to thrive now. They're the ones that are going to be able to get a lot of energy as they reap these fields, and so it'll incentivize a whole different set of things. Instead of just the competence of being able to try to move toward your target, the wander AI is going to start getting selected for. And whatever zombies can move around the most with their wander AI are going to be rewarded mightily with all this food. So this zombie in particular looks like he's going to do pretty well. In fact, it might not even rely that much on the wander AI because these food are close enough together that it can go from one target to another. Each zombie has a radius, sort of viewing radius of 20 meters. So if there's anything within 20 meters, they'll be able to see it. And so these are definitely within 20 meters of each other. So this guy had the good fortune of being near this big chunk of food. And, well, whether that's fortune or whether that's good genes, I don't know. Hard to say. It's kind of the thing about natural selection is luck is just intertwined with the whole aspect of genetic evolution and natural selection. But he has a lot of energy. He's not going to meet a mate for a while, so he's going to keep storing it up. There's no maximum value on energy, so he's just going to keep storing it up. But when he does find other willing zombies, he's going to have quite a lot. And yeah, he's just quite efficiently just making his way, chewing his way through all this food. Okay, so he just had a bunch of babies there with somebody else. So they each had like 100 energy. And so now that there's a bunch of babies and they have, a parent that was pretty good at getting food, I suspect this food is all going to start disappearing very quickly now. All these babies will start going for it and just they're going to go a little bit crazy, and the genes will spread even further. So this guy, I expect, will have a lot of grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and is going to be the basis of like one of the first species to form in this simulation. Yeah, we can definitely start to see a species forming as well. Things also start to get a little bit laggy, but these yellow helmet, blue shirt, cyan boots, kind of grayish pants. If we look around, that one zombie had a bunch of babies, and they had a bunch more babies, and there's sort of a clan forming, and they'll mate with other species. There's no like preference or like sort of. Yeah, there's no preference basically. Any zombie can mate with any other zombie. It just needs to find another willing zombie. So it's not like they'll form their own separate species that can't breed with other species or anything like that. But certainly those genes are going to be very strong throughout the gene pool for the foreseeable future. All right, so here we are a couple hours later, and what we find is basically the zombies are okay at what they want to do, right? They're pretty much capable of, these two are breeding with each other. This guy's going to go get some food. There's still like plenty of competition for food. So now at this point, the evolution is to come through little advantages. Instead of who can actually move themselves towards food, who can actually move themselves towards a mate, it's more who can be the most energy efficient when there's not that much food, because look, there's just not that much food spawned throughout the whole arena because they're eating them pretty fast. So who can be the most energy efficient and who can get to the melon the quickest? And so at this point, evolution is going to slow down a lot, and it's going to take some time. That guy got onto the ledge first try. Like, zombies are pretty capable, right? He's spitting out TNT a little bit. Well, okay, that's not. I don't know if this is the best Wander AI I've seen, because he's kind of using 2 TNT per actual movement, but at least he's spitting them out pretty slowly, so he's not wasting a lot of energy. He's just not moving around as much as he probably could be. But yeah, so this is where the small advantages come into play for evolution, and it'll take a long time for that to slowly, get the small advantages to be bred into new babies. Over long periods of time, those advantages will start to accumulate, but it's going to take quite a bit more time, and I'm probably going to have to wait quite a few hours to show you some improved results. All right, so now the zombies, well, they're pretty good. It's been roughly a day. I just let it run overnight. The zombies are getting pretty good. They're very energy efficient when they're wandering. They blast themselves pretty far. And then when they do see melons, they go for it. Yeah, so their fuse is really short, especially on their targeting AI, which allows them basically to have the TNT explode while it's really close to them, and they can get really good propulsion. And so when they see something they want, they can get to it very quickly and beat out other zombies to those melons. Here we go. Sometimes they miss it, but oh man, light speed babies. Did you see that? They just mated. But yeah, this is the result of evolution, and it's really cool that all this happened without me like saying what was good or bad. Basically, it's just zombies can get food or not get food. They can mate or not mate. They can have babies with lots of energy or little energy, and that's just enough for over time for these awesome zombies to evolve and be able to get that food really fast, compete really well, and I don't know. I think it's really cool. Every time I see an evolution simulator, and especially when I'm able to make one, it's just always a treat. It's fun to just stare at, watch, see what all the weird, interesting behavior is, things you might not expect from evolution. Sometimes you get strategies that are sort of weird looking, but in the end, usually you get things that that are pretty good at whatever is incentivized by the evolutionary environment. So, yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's see, generation 323. Wow, that one's been alive for 43 minutes. All right, well, now comes the part of the video where I want to talk about my channel. So this video is my 1000th video, as I said before, which is really cool. Now, over time, I have not produced videos at a consistent pace. So I hit 500 videos after only a couple years, and then it's taken me like 6 or 7 years, maybe something like that, to get the other 500 on my channel. So I have taken several breaks. Now over time, I have fallen out of love with Minecraft or burnt out on it. I did some speedrunning. That was really fun. I played Breath of the Wild and did a little bit of that. I've done some machine learning projects. I've taken my time on some longer projects, stuff like the Atari emulator, that where I wasn't really producing content for my channel, but I was spending a lot of time for a single project. And well, that one obviously turned out quite nicely. But yeah, I do now have 1000 videos. I finally made it here. It's pretty cool. I'm still looking at my subscriber count. I have 1.95 million subscribers. So it seems like I should be hitting 2 million pretty soon, but I've been above 1.9 million subscribers for the last I don't know, something like 6 years. So it's sort of coinciding with there was like a drop in popularity in Minecraft in around 2013 or 2014. That was kind of the peak, and so ever since then, I've sort of been treading water. I've been gaining subscribers at the same rate that I've been losing subscribers due to just people getting like less interested, or things like YouTube removing bot accounts, that sort of stuff. So, but I have recently been gaining subscribers again because I've been putting out regular content on my channel, and so we may see a 2 million subscriber landmark sometime soon here. But well, you can never really tell. Maybe there'll be a giant purge and I'll lose 100,000 subscribers, or you never know with YouTube. But that's also really cool. I'm really happy to be making Minecraft content again. Basically, I took a really long break. Like I said, I burnt out, but because I took such a long break, there have been a ton of features added to Minecraft since I last really played a lot. And so I've spent a lot of my time in the last few months sort of becoming reacquainted with Minecraft, relearning it sort of. And it's been very fun to just have all this new content to explore. But even more so than just having new content, Minecraft as like a game engine, as we see with things like this Datapack, is just so much more capable now. And there's just a lot more you can do. And it's kind of almost to the point where you can basically create your own little mods, stuff like this. And so I feel like there's a lot of potential for new content for me and my channel with Minecraft. I do want to do some other stuff. Mario Maker 2 is coming out pretty soon here in June 2019. And so I do want to play around with Mario Maker 2 for sure. And I'm sure I'll get back to speedrunning at some point. I have a machine learning project that I still haven't released, even though I've had it kind of under my belt for like a year and a half. So there is still a lot of other things I want to do besides Minecraft, but I feel like there's still just so much room to explore and just have fun with all the new features they've added to the game. And I'm sure they'll keep adding new features as well. So I don't know, I'm a little bit aimless here with what I'm talking about, but hopefully this gives you some insights into what's going on in my head. I historically, when I have taken long breaks and I just sort of came back and produce videos again, I haven't said anything. I just, there's a video on my channel. I don't say anything about taking a long break and coming back, but this might give you a little bit of insight into that. There's also my girlfriend bought a house about a year ago, and so it turns out there was a lot more work than we thought that needed to go into that. So that's one of the other things that's just been life sort of demanding my attention elsewhere. There's a bunch of factors into what's gone into my life the last few years, but I'm thankful that a lot of people seem to have stuck with me. Even though I had these long breaks, it seems like when I post content again, it just doesn't take very long for the audience to come back and see that I'm posting again. And I've been very happy with the number of views I've been able to get on my new content, even though I took those long breaks. I feel like a lot of YouTube channels, if they took breaks like what I was doing, would not have that kind of success coming back. And so I'm really grateful to you guys that you're through the years just still trying to keep tabs on me and what I'm doing. And it's something that I am just very thankful for, because it's really not something that I expected, and I don't think it's anything that any YouTuber should expect. So I feel very fortunate and just blessed to be able to do what I do this channel for a living, and it's just great. It's really the best. So thank you guys. That's it for my 1000th video. I really hope you enjoyed. I've had so much fun working on this. This has sort of been a little longer project over the last few weeks, and I'm just really happy with the results. I would love to play around with more stuff like this, more of these genetic evolution simulations. So if you guys have any ideas for other types of simulations, I'm all ears. But this was really fun. Well, I guess I'll see you in another 1,000 videos, hopefully. Or, well, no, I guess hopefully you'll watch my next few videos too. But that's about it. Thanks for watching.